It's interesting regarding Leroy Sané. It was supposed to be his season, wasn't it, after being dropped from the Germany World Cup squad. Yet he hasn't started for Manchester City. Pep Guardiola not impressed with his attitude. Toni Kroos has jumped in as well. This is what the German international had to say about his teammate. Sometimes you have the feeling from his body language that it does not matter for him if we win or lose. He needs to find the right attitude, and if he shows all his qualities, then he can be an absolute weapon for us. What struck me about this, Craig, is the fact that you've got... It's not an ex-player, you know, it's not a pundit. It's his teammate saying this to the media.
Yeah, I think if it was Leroy Sané, I'd almost think twice about why bother. Do you know what I mean? He just seems to be... He seems a bit of a scapegoat at the moment. You know, a scapegoat for a side who performed badly without him.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you know, if it was me, and everybody's different. I mean, Leroy Sané's 22, he's not 18. He's still a young man, but he's not a teenager. If that was me and I was pitching up and I already was a Premier League winner, I was already a proven player, although he's not playing at the moment. I was one of the most talented players in European football. Clearly there's a need for me in the German national team. I think I'd be standing up for myself to Toni Kroos or whoever else. But that's just me. Whether he does that, I don't know. But I wouldn't turn up to a training camp with any squad whilst my teammates out to the media talking about my attitude. I just wouldn't have it.
I don't remember this happening very much at all.
While I don't like the fact that Toni Kroos is doing this through the media, this is something that he should do in a conversation with Leroy Sané. And maybe it's a conversation that has taken place. We don't know. I don't like the approach by Toni Kroos. However, it's impossible to ignore the fact that it's now been three important people to Leroy Sané that have said there's a problem here. Jogi Löw, who passed on Leroy Sané in the World Cup, and Pep Guardiola, who has passed on Leroy Sané early on in the season and saying, alluding things about his attitude. And now his national team teammate, Toni Kroos, saying there's a problem with his attitude. So if these three people in three separate worlds are saying exactly the same thing, then there may just be a problem with Leroy Sané's attitude. And so, though I agree with the fact that, yes, he's got to stand up for himself, he's also got to show a change, and he's got to show maturity, and he's got to show some growth, and he's got to show performances on the field for Germany that haven't happened all that often and all that well.
The only one of those three that I give any credence to is Pep Guardiola, because he's his club manager, and it's his responsibility to get the best out of Leroy Sané now. I am still amazed at not just the failure of this German national team at the World Cup, but how everybody involved, it seems, is looking for a scapegoat. First it was Mesut Ozil. He's no longer in the picture, and now it's Leroy Sané, who wasn't even at the World Cup. Yet somehow it's his body language that translates to poor performances. I just don't get it. I think it's time players like Toni Kroos, as good as he is, as much as he's won, as much as he's achieved, as respected as he is, to take responsibility for what happened this summer. Stop pointing the finger at everybody else but yourself. Put that right, and then figure out how you fix everybody else's.
If you want a Frenchman in there, it should be Mbappe over Griezmann, because Mbappe, of course, won all those titles in France and was also a major part in their success in Russia.
Yeah, I mean, I would have had Varane, Griezmann and Mbappe anyway in that final three. But no, more seriously. Yeah, I mean, Mbappe has a case. I think Varane has a huge case, like Craig just said. Champions League winner, World Cup winner the same year. I mean, come on. The guy had an incredible season. And even if, you know, at the beginning of La Liga it was not so good, it was still fantastic. So I think all of them, you know, have a case.
Who would you have, Mbappe or Griezmann, Jules, in this particular award, in this conversation?
I would have Griezmann, because I think Griezmann has been so consistent in the last, 4 to 5 years. I mean,
It's
he
not about 4 to 5 years. It's about July 2017 to July 2018. If we're doing consistency, just give it Messi now.
But Mbappe has been on the scene for 18 months. You know, and as amazing as he's been, and what a talent he is at only 19, you know, he will have to show more, I think, to be in that sort of bracket of those kind of players. It's not just 18 months. I think Griezmann has been doing it for longer, and I think just for that, I think he deserves it a little bit more than Mbappe.
You wouldn't have Messi in this top three at all, Jules, because he's not French.
I mean, he was part of that debacle against Roma. Wouldn't you agree with me?
I just tear him up. I'll tell you what, did Gab McCarthy not write a column recently about why these awards are not very important?
Well, since when have you ever given gravitas to Gab's columns?
That's a fair point.
Monday music.
I didn't say I read the column.
Where do you stand? Griezmann, Mbappe?
Mbappe. Between the two, out of Mbappe. And listen, I sympathise with Griezmann and how he feels. He feels, rightly or wrongly, that he was on a par or close to being on a par with Ronaldo and Messi. And now without Messi, you would think that he would be in there. But I'm with you here, Dan. You win the Europa League. Don't try to force that down anybody's throats as to why you should be deemed as the best player in the world.
Well, he did win the World Cup.
So did Mbappe. So did
kind of negates it.
yeah, no, but so did Mbappe. And again,
Mbappe didn't win any European competitions. I'm not either. If we want to get any, if we get no B-roll of Rafael Varane, I'm out.
Atletico Madrid didn't get out of the group stage of the Champions League.
Oh, get out of here.
So to your initial question,
that B-roll of Varane,
question, Mbappe as a result.
Alejandro Moreno.
If I had a choice of a player, it would be Kylian Mbappe. I thought he was more impactful and more important for France in the World Cup in the final third in the attacking half than Antoine Griezmann was. The explosive plays for France in the World Cup came from Mbappe, not from Griezmann.
Or Varane.
Or Varane. Certainly not Varane.
That is it.
I have no problem with Varane. I like Varane.
You can only have 3 players, you know?
Yeah, who would be your top 3 then, Shaq?
Oh, no. Carry on.
No, don't stop throwing that in now.
I was just saying I like Varane. That's a carry on with what we were doing.
Jules, I wanted to talk to you about the rumours doing the rounds at the moment. Rabiot to Liverpool. This seems to be gathering some legs.
Yeah, it's a good exclusive. We had a few sources telling us at ESPN that Liverpool are very keen on trying to sign him either in January for a small fee because Rabiot is out of contract in June and so far doesn't want to sign a new deal with PSG, or maybe getting him on a free for next summer. Jurgen Klopp is a huge admirer of Rabiot, tried to sign him before Dortmund. Rabiot, in an interview on French radio back in October, said that as a kid he grew up watching Liverpool and he was really keen on Liverpool. So it seemed that he's attracted to Anfield and to Liverpool anyway. So this could match well. However, for Liverpool, there will be a lot of other clubs who are interested in such a young, talented player who could come on a free to your club. And Barcelona were really keen to get him in the summer. They will be back for him as well. There's also interest in Italy. So Liverpool are not going to be the only one there for Rabiot, but it seems that they'll be ahead of everyone else at the moment.
Why is he falling out of favour at PSG, Jules? He's an incredible talent.
Yeah, I mean, the club want him to stay because he's Paris-born and bred kid. He was, he was there at the academy for a young age, although then he went to City for 6 months and then came back. The problem is he doesn't want to commit his future there. He doesn't really feel he has the whole confidence of the, at the club, especially the hierarchy, although Tuchel really likes him and he's played every minute so far this season in Ligue 1. But I think he wants to see something else. He's only 23. He still has a lot of time ahead of him in his career, and I think he wants to see something a bit different. In Paris, they're still hoping that they would sign him for a new deal, but I'm not sure that's what he wants really.
Great coup, wouldn't he, for Liverpool if they can get Rabiot?
Exactly, because I'm with Jules here. I really, really like this guy. I know he didn't go to the World Cup with France. There was a few issues with Deschamps in the end, but I think he's got all the attributes of the modern midfielder. I think he's very tidy on the ball. He gets around. He can put his foot in. He can get in the box and score goals. Half of Europe's going to be chasing this guy, so you can link him with Liverpool. Yeah. There's going to be some bigger clubs in front.
A lot of people point to international football as the ultimate, but an issue has arisen, but certainly between the image rights, it seems to be,
money.
From the players
money.
and the Denmark FA.
Well, I don't know. Everybody's different, but I know back in the late 90s, early 2000s when we played, money really wasn't an issue. I think we got an appearance fee, but in comparison to our salaries at the time, which wasn't like how it is now, but it was still chicken feed. It wasn't like we were getting fortunes for playing. So I don't. Maybe they've got a gripe. I don't know. They clearly got a gripe.
I have to say, I've been a part of a few national teams that have had issues with the administration, which I won't get into right now. and I sympathise with the Danish players. I applaud the fact that everybody, regardless of how experienced or inexperienced, decided to make a stand. And hopefully it puts Danish football, and in particular the respect that the players get at the national level, on a different level. Because there are still far too many times and stories out there about players, especially at that level, just being abused, misrepresented, and players have to have a voice and make a stand.
What happens, as you just mentioned, international football is the pinnacle of one's career. You want to play for your national team. Sometimes the federation takes advantage of that because they know that you want to be part of the national team. You want to be part of that experience. And so there will be times where the players are not handled the way that they should be and are not fully respected the way that they should be, because they know that even if they mistreat you, you want to come back.
Right.
You want to represent your country. That puts you in a higher profile as a player. It's one thing to be a club player. It's another different thing to be an international player, because when you go and negotiate a contract, oh, by the way, that's part of your negotiation. It's saying, look, I'm this level of player. I'm not just a club player. I'm this sort of player. And so because you want to be part of that, then the federations at times, they say, you know what? We're going to cut corners because it benefits us. It may not benefit the players, but it benefits us. And in doing so, you now jeopardize the relationship with the players. A successful national team usually has a tremendously talented group of players and then a federation that represents those players well.
Hello and welcome to Extra Time. Thank you as always for your tweets.
Thanks for wearing the jacket.
What do you mean? Just mixing it up a little
What do
bit.
you mean, what do you mean?
Why do I have to wear a jacket?
All right, sporty spice, is all right.
Sporty spice. Who was your favourite spice?
Nobody's ever accused Dan of being sporty.
Can we talk about whose favourite? Is that? I don't think. No, let's not talk about that.
Well, maybe
actually.
just as the
No.
maybe just as a man of your standing, as the producer, director, and presenter of this show.
Well, therefore, I can choose what I want to dress
that
like.
you
surely.
might give off a very more professional look.
I'm thinking it's not a very professional show, though.
I'm sorry, speak for yourself.
I dressed up.
What you're
I
talking
mean, that's the kind of thing you could get hauled up before a boss for.
How is that? All right.
Don't know what you're talking about.
Who is the best dressed person on the show? Says the first tweet. Shaka, who would you say? Best dressed person.
On what?
Craig,
Craig's not the best dressed person.
On what?
So what you asked me for?
Oh, do you really think not this show? The show.
On what show?
Our show. So who are our contenders? Robbo's always immaculately dressed.
Yeah, Robbo.
No, I'm not having it.
No?
He was right the first time. I'm telling you.
I'm going with Robbo.
Go with the process of elimination. It's not Stevie.
It's not.
No, it's not Stevie. It's not Gab.
Well,
No. It's not Gavin.
Jules, have you hung out with Gab? And when he's wearing his big Philadelphia Eagles top, flapping around everywhere?
Yeah, and also he's a fishing, his fishing jacket with all the pockets. He had it
Yes.
every day at the World Cup. Why so many pockets? I said to him, why do you put in those pockets?
One at the back. What are you going to keep in there?
He puts all his Monday musings. he's got paper copies of the Monday musings, and it's just in case his laptop crashes. And he just drags columns out from everywhere, and then just goes ahead and finds somebody in the street and just bores them to death, reading these columns to them. And Ali knows this. Keep it to 500 words, Gab. No, I'll give you 2,000.
yes.
See you next week when you finish it.
Ali knows this.
I know this
I
well.
like how you get dragged into this.
That's all right.
Jules is normally very well dressed,
Yes,
but
yes,
you and
yes.
Jules, I don't know what's going on.
What do you mean? I'm just
You
questioning
took
what
a
he's
shot
wearing
at
today.
No,
Come
you took
on.
a shot at him. You said he
To
wasn't
be
professional
fair,
today.
To be
I
fair,
said it's not very smart today.
no, Jules has got a fashionable top on. You've got your granddad's sweater on.
Nothing wrong with this. It's a
With
nice
patches.
sweater. Bit of patches. Bit of
Come on, tell everybody.
Bit of Burberry.
Somebody takes you to dress you.
No, not anymore.
Somebody takes you shopping.
Not anymore.
I've grown up. I've grown up. I've grown up.
He's trying to stop himself.
To be fair, I think she just gave up.
He said, not anymore, not since 2 months ago.
That's it.
37. whatever I am.
right.
Brian McBride. Brian's well dressed.
Yeah, Brad's dressed as well.
Yeah. Who else have we got? That's enough.
Are you going to keep going?
Paul dresses for a,
No, wait a minute.
Wait, I want to see what he's going to say after. For a what?
for an old geezer. Sorry, man. Maros, are you watching this? So don't show Maros this clip.
probably
Can
at
I
the
ask a
dentist.
question? Why are we taking questions from Mike Rodriguez?
Well, I assume I have no idea.
No, we know who Mike Rodriguez is.
He works on the show. I don't know why he's tweeting him.
Does he work on the show?
Yes.
Well, yes.
But he spends more time working on that Max and Hurt podcast.
Well, that too.
Should Dembele start for France after his amazing performance for Barcelona? Julian.
He's had a good start of the season. The thing is, he had his chance at the World Cup in that first game against Australia. He blew it, and after that, Deschamps found his team. And right now, there's no place for him. I mean, if you wanted a more offensive French team, then you could put him on the left-hand side instead of Matuidi, for example, and then in your 4-4-2. But you'll have Dembele, Mbappe, Giroud, and Griezmann. So for the balance of the team, I'm not so sure that would work, at least in Deschamps' eyes. So I think he would have to work really hard to get back into the starting lineup, but he has the potential and he's still so young, so he will get there. But right now, I don't think there's space for him as a starter.
Proper serious answer.
I concur
Take that.
with Julian.
Andy Robertson is the new captain of Scotland. Your thoughts, Craig? You're
Yeah,
Scottish.
I think there's some bigger concerns for Scotland, i.e. qualifying, but no. His rise has been super the last 18 months, so, you know, getting to the Champions League final, people didn't think he was going to play at Liverpool. Not only has he played, he's played really well. And he's one of 2 or 3 quality players that Scotland have. They just don't have enough. So, yeah, it's great for that lad himself. Just, I don't know if there's going to be a big enough supporting cast around him, even with the new format for Scotland to qualify. We will see. But
Did you have a captain?
yes.
Did you?
The national team?
Yes.
Yes.
He's a leader of men.
Well, yes.
Leader of
I did. I wore a sweater at the press
you?
conference. No, I did. Yeah. So yeah, it was. It's all right.
Must be a very proud moment.
Tried to hide it. Look.
Cool. There's a smile there. There's a smile there.
Still wearing the armband.
I should wear it over my jacket.
Have the armband still?
Silly.
Well, you might have it as a memento.
I don't have the jersey
No?
or anything.
What happened to
I don't
it?
really keep memorabilia. And the one bit I did keep was stolen from my house 10 years ago.
All of a sudden, this story took a turn.
Scotland, a signed shirt from the World Cup '98, signed by all the players and the Brazilians and all the Brazilian caps from that game and all the stuff. No monetary value to anybody, but it was framed and up, hidden away in the house somewhere, and it was half-inched, pinched, stolen.
Oh.
It hasn't turned up on eBay
All YouTube.
or YouTube.
Oh, we are a great house.
So that was all.
Final question. Jules, this is someone who obviously is a keen viewer of Extra Time, because he asked you, who's your favourite cricket player?
Oh, wow, that's a good one. That's a good one. I mean, right now I would have to go for Virat Kohli, who I think is just simply amazing to carry the Indian team pretty much by himself in this Test series against England, for example, is incredible. Apart from that, I've got a soft spot for Malinga just for the way he bowls. I think it's amazing to bowl the way he does. So yeah, I will go for Kohli and Malinga.
There you go.
There's a Frenchman talking about cricket.
He loves it. We've discussed it before.
He loves the way he bowls.
Yep. A lot of strikes
You know,
and
my
spares.
son, my older son started playing, and
Yeah.
he's been invited at Lord's to be part of the MCC Academy. So he's going to play.
Very posh. I think we'll go down to Lord's.
I'm very proud.
Go down for some. Yes. Tea and scones, anybody? Tea and scones.
He's your favourite child then, Jules, yeah?
Yes.
I went to a cricket match. You ever been to a cricket match? You're
Of
English.
course, yeah. I used to be a cricket reporter. I do.
Did you? You wanted
I do
to get, I tell you what, was you better at that? You want to get back to that soon?
Cricket in the winter and then cricket in the
From what I've heard between the lines, and I heard some talk the other day, somebody said they're thinking about sending you to do some cricket reporting.
There you go, perfect. That's in the Caribbean. There you are. Because Alexis is going.
Tell you what,
And now all of a sudden Shaka is going to get involved somehow. No, oh, we're going to the Caribbean? Oh, well, I know my cricket.
I'm sitting there quietly, minding my own business.
Yeah, but
It's,
hey, you heard Caribbean and you went like this.
yeah.
No, I
he
didn't.
did.
No, I didn't.
He had holiday with camera.
No, I didn't.
Hey, it's hard to. I'm not being funny now, but I went to a semi-final of a one-dayer at the Oval. When they bowl that ball down at full speed, It's hard to even see it.
Of course, it's 90 miles per hour.
That being said, might have had a few. Might have had a few because it was a hot day and I...
Oh, yes. Yeah, because if it was freezing cold, you wouldn't have had any.
No. And the London Broncos were there. Who were the...
They're
not a cricket team.
No, they're a rugby team. And they were
Went
there.
to watch London Broncos play cricket.
The London...
I couldn't see anything. I don't know how that worked because it was hot.
I'm trying to educate you now. I'm trying to educate you. The London Broncos were there because Brendan Julian... Because Brendan
Nobody
Julian...
else in Lords, it was just me.
Shut up. There was an Australian bowler called Brendan Julian and they were there to support the old Aussie. Right?
What's that got to do with anything?
I'm just telling you.
Ridiculous element to this horrible story.
I've only been to one cricket game when the London Broncos were there.
Who cares about the London Broncos?
Couldn't see the ball.
Oh, dear.
He started that answer by saying, I'm being serious now.
Goodness gracious me.
Hold on, anybody looking for a cricket reporter? Small guy.
That's Jules' son.
Doesn't press too
Well
well.
done, Jules.
Well done, Jules.
Well done.
ESPN FC returns tomorrow. Craig's off watching the London Broncos. He's off.
Playing cricket.
Cricket team. Cricket team.
Rugby.
We'll be here. It's the start, of course, of the UEFA Nations League.
Oh, goodness.
True story, that.
It's a terrible story.
Shaka Hissop is joining me as we have a little chit-chat looking ahead to the Ballon d'Or because a certain Antoine Griezmann believes Shaka, despite Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo dominating that award for the past decade, he's been in 3 finals and won 3 finals, so he's in it with a shout. What do you think?
Well, the one final that counts, in my opinion, sitting as far as the Ballon d'Or goes, is the World Cup final. The Europa League, especially after you fail to get out to the group stage, doesn't count as anywhere near as much as he seems to suggest here. The other thing for me, and which I find amazing, is how individual awards have now become so important in football. It has become the go-to, and on the surface of it,
Do you think Messi and Ronaldo's dominance sort of contributed to that?
quite possibly. But at the same time, I don't understand why or how. I read the ESPN article on this, and let me quote Antoine Griezmann here. The Ballon d'Or is a prestigious award, and for a player to summit, there's nothing better, nothing bigger. There can be trophies in your league, the World Cup, the Euros. It's not the same. This is coming from a World Cup winner, making the point that the Ballon d'Or is bigger. On this quote alone in the ESPN articles I mentioned, is bigger than the World Cup win. Now, I can't get behind that. I can't understand or even try to justify how someone like Antoine Griezmann comes around to thinking that way. Now, whether you think you're the world's best, whether you think you had the best year in world football or not, this kind of singular focus on individual awards and not team, putting self above team, is simply beyond me. And I can't sympathize. I can't sympathize with how he feels or any hurt that he now feels is due to him.
Well, that, of course, is because he basically lashed out at the FIFA Best Awards and kind of rued the fact that there weren't a lot of French players after winning the World Cup involved. If we have a look at some of the odds now for the front runners of the Ballon d'Or, you will see that, of course, Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi are in the mix, along with Luka Modric and Kylian Mbappe. Shaka, what do you think of any of these that could possibly upset the two that have been dominating it?
Well, I think Luka Modric certainly
Yes.
in with a significant show.
More so than
what Real Madrid and we did with the Czech Republic in the World Cup. With Croatia, excuse me. Kylian Mbappe as well in with a significant show, given his own performances for France in the World Cup, and they won. So on the one hand, I do agree with Antoine Griezmann in that France should be better represented.
Yes.
Given that they are World Cup winners. But then it comes down to how do you balance that with, as I mentioned, Croatia getting to the World Cup final, Real Real Madrid, winning the Champions League, Luka Modric and his performances and his contributions in both, and then PSG a little bit disappointing in when and the manner they got knocked out in the Champions League. And how does that reflect on Kylian Mbappe despite the World Cup win? So then it becomes, a matter of opinion, and people will vote, and each person will have their own opinion, and you see exactly where that falls. In my opinion, it should be between those two.
We all just need a little bit of love and recognition. I think that's all Antoine Griezmann is crying out for, Shaka. And I think he deserves it.
All right.
Shaka Hissop is joining me, and a new team will be joining MLS soon enough, and it's Inter Miami. Yes, indeed. That will be the name for that man's franchise, David Beckham, who has been working tediously over the past couple of years for it. So, Shaka, before we get you to weigh in on the name, here are some of the original names that we know and have come to love. I have at least loved them. And then here are some of the expansion teams. Of course, a lot of Uniteds and Cities, and now Inter Miami.
Yeah, well, look, you could understand the change in names, people trying to reach out to, not just Europeanize.
That was it, Shaka.
Trying to reach out to a demographic, and so you can understand that, and you sympathize with that. Now, Inter Miami, quite clearly, it's a play on a Hispanic heritage and a fan base, a potential fan base. So, on the one hand, I do sympathize. I will say though, Inter Miami doesn't roll off the tongue very easily, does it?
No, it does not.
It's not a great name phonetically. Now, you have all this time to figure things out, and that's the best you could come up with, right, even though you're reaching out to your fan base. But still, I find it hard to criticize. When you have Real Salt Lake...
That's the one you want to criticize.
How Salt Lake come up with Real Salt Lake?
And it's not even real Salt Lake, it's Real
Is
Salt Lake.
beyond me. That, for me, is the most ridiculous. And until somebody comes up with a more ridiculous name than Real Salt Lake, I'm going to give them a pass.
You're going to give David Beckham and
Yeah.
Inter Miami. I nearly said Miami.
It's a nice crest as well.
Miami Vice would have sounded a bit better. Don't you think?
I think there'll be all
But what do you make then of
all
the
kinds
names?
of issues with that.
Don't you think that the U.S., though, especially names like how we used to see the New York Cosmos and the New England Revolution, those kind of names that are traditional, I guess, here in the U.S., sort of adds that U.S. flair to it, and they should keep it at that? I understand the link they want to make internationally, Shaka, but everyone just can't be united.
It's not just an international link, it's the demographic of the city. This is a multicultural
Real Salt Lake?
I already talked about Real Salt Lake. We talk about Miami now. And I'm saying that we've spoken about the diversity and all the...
But let the crest do that. The crest does somewhat of that.
Yeah, okay, fine. And you have to have a name that reflects that as well.
All right, so Shaka Hissop is loving this name. So
I don't say I'm loving it. I'm just saying there's a whole lot worse.
But Real
that
Salt
get a
Lake,
pass.
that's where you want to go.
There's a whole lot worse that get a pass.
AKA Real Salt Lake. So Shaka Hissop
That's
is
the
coming
worst
for you.
name in MLS.
With Shaka Hissop in the house, we always like to make him feel a little special. So we've got to have a little goalkeeper chat, Shaka.
Right.
We're going to have you rank your top 5 Premier League keepers. But first explain to us the criteria that you worked with.
The criteria is a closely guarded secret.
Oh, okay. There you have it. Let's start off with number 5 then.
You've got to allow me a little leeway here. A couple of the goalkeepers, including number 5, Kepa, new to the league. What I've seen of Kepa sitting in a Chelsea shirt, in a Chelsea shirt, as with Athletic Bilbao, an incredible shot stopper.
Yes.
I can't think of many. Well, I can only think of 4 more better than him in the league. I think that's an outstanding acquisition by Chelsea. Watch that space. He may move up.
All right, number 4.
Number 4, the old stalwart, Hugo Lloris, World Cup winner.
He's a little further down than I expected, Shaka.
I just think Hugo Lloris at his best was one of the best in the world, without question, and still is. But I think he has been prone to the odd error over the last couple of seasons. So as a result, maybe he's a little bit lower down than he would have been 3 or 4 years ago.
Top 3 now.
Another goalkeeper new to the league,
Oh.
Alisson, for Liverpool.
Despite his risky play.
Despite his risky play and despite the error on the weekend, I still have him in at my top 3. At his best, he continues to show that he's an outstanding goalkeeper, one of the best in the world, never mind just the Premier League, but yes, does like life on the edge. Is about as nicely as I can phrase it.
All right, we're into the top 2 now. I've yet to see a certain name, but let's see who gets the runners-up spot.
Another Brazilian,
Okay,
which
another
brought a smile to
Brazilian.
your face. I'll get to that in a minute. Edison for Manchester City, simply outstanding for the last couple of seasons. Also likes life on the edge, not as close to the edge as Alisson quite clearly. And I know people are going to be saying, well, Alisson got the nod over Edison, certainly in terms of the Brazil squad. Alisson has been Brazil's #1 for the last 2 or 3 seasons, even when Edison, dating back to when Edison was still in the reserves at Benfica. And he's kept hold of the shirt. But in terms of the Premier League, what we've seen so far, and yes, it's only a few games in, I give Edison the nod.
Well,
over Alisson.
There can only be one Shaka Hislop. So let's see who you have. Of course.
No
the
surprise
Great Wall of
there.
Spain.
No surprise there. Despite a disappointing World Cup,
That's putting it nicely.
that's putting it
Shocking.
nicely, David De Gea has been the Premier League's best by a country mile for the last 3 or 4 years. And despite the performances of Edison over the last season and a touch, and Alisson over the last few games, if I'm picking a team right now, I'd still go with David De Gea.